Guys, we got some stuff to talk about here. Look at this new article from the Gateway Pundit. And guys, this is pretty insane. The Biden regime declares Trump supporters domestic terror threats in newly released internal documents sought to set up DHS Intel unit to target them. So they are you watching this. Well, I mean, if you're not a Trump supporter, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about the Trump supporters that watch me. You are labeled a domestic terror threat. Yes. Why would they label you a domestic terror threat? Any idea why? Why would they say, Mr. John Doe or Mr. Andrew here, myself, I'm a domestic terror threat? I don't threaten people. I follow the law for the most part. You know, there might be the occasional thing I do that might go outside the bounds of the law, but it's nothing like serious, So why would they label someone like me and you a domestic terror threat? Because it's no longer about the American way. It's no longer about the Constitution. It's about the people versus the government. And if you are not on board with their agenda, quite literally, you are a threat to them. Used to, the way the United States is supposed to work, is the government works for the people and does the will of the people and the bidding of the people. We elect our representatives, we elect our leaders, and they go to D.C. and they do what we want them to do. But that has become flipped. And all of a sudden, we see with the left and some of the Republican Party, we call it the Uniparty now, that this has become an adversarial relationship between the American people and the government, and also the American people and the media, the corporate press, because they are simply an arm of the government. They are a tool that the government uses to try to propagandize the American people into doing what they want. So let's read this. Jim Hoff reported yesterday that America First Legal, this is an institution that just does fantastic work. They sue the crap out of the federal government. I love it. Tom Fitton, I believe, runs America First Legal. He does just fantastic work. But let me zoom in here so you guys see a little bit better. But AFL, America First Legal, released documents demonstrating how the Department of Homeland Security put together a since disbanded DHS Intel Group that included deep state goons, John Brennan and James Clapper, to reclassify political dissent under the guise of public health. Wow. So you're telling me that they have like a bait and switch? Well, this is a public health concern, but really what they're going after is political consent. And they did this so that ordinary Americans felt empowered to rat on their neighbors. You know what? I saw this actually firsthand. I lived for a little over a year in a town called Springfield, Missouri. And there were 3, maybe 4 locations of billboards alongside highways. I believe they were all electronic billboards. But they had advertisements for the FBI encouraging people to call a number if they knew somebody who was in D.C. attending the protest during January 6th. And it was FBI number, and it said, know somebody who was at the Capitol during January 6th, call this number. So some very like Soviet style stuff, right? I mean, that's just, when I saw that, I'm sure I have a picture of it somewhere on my phone, because I remember telling my buddy, I called him, I was like, bro, have you seen this? And he's not really into politics much. He didn't really think anything of it, but that's the problem. Most people just don't think anything of it. Like, wow, there's some illegality going on. This must be really serious. I better call the FBI. Yeah, right. But, that's like a Soviet-style tactic, getting ordinary Americans to rat on their neighbors. Like, disgusting, right? Now, America First Legal has released An even more infuriating batch of documents that should send chills straight up your spine because Trump supporters are on the menu. I mean, I knew it was coming. It's definitely, it's going to come at some time. The way this is going so far with Donald Trump, how they have ratcheted up this lawfare against him, and we all can see it. There's like a portion of the country who just are oblivious to it. And I believe that there's a faction of people who are just, they don't understand how important it is to have a functioning justice system. So they're just kind of like very tribal. So they're all about the lawfare. And then there's those of us who clearly see it and we're calling it out all the time. Like, hey, what's going on here? This is not how the justice system is supposed to work. This is not how, we're supposed to use our institutions. We're not supposed to go after political prisoners or our political opponents. That's what they do in those other countries, the ones that have banana republics and the ones that are not functioning, the ones where the economy is running to the ground and that they're ran by basically raging bands of lunatics. Those are other countries. That's not the United States. And we see it slowly evolving into something that is kind of unrecognizable at this point. It's not completely unrecognizable. I still believe, I'm optimistic we can still change it, but it's pretty freaky what's happening when you see all of this lawfare going against Donald Trump. But these newly released internal files by America First Legal show the Biden regime classified someone as a person likely to commit domestic violent extremist attacks, but instead of focusing on actual threats like Antifa and pro-Hamas supporters, they have declared Trump supporters as enemies of the state instead. Very interesting. Wait a second. There we go. We're back. Remember the summer of love when Donald Trump was in office? Remember all of those attacks? Where was the FBI declaring them, putting them on lists and saying, hey, they are likely to commit some extremist attacks, because they were doing it like every day for quite a while. It was pretty crazy. Every day you saw another building on fire, and really what was being done? Like, the police pretty much stood down. This is a tweet from America First Legal, exclusive. Internal docs from Biden's DHS show their plans to target Trump supporters as domestic terrorists or extremists. The Brennan Clapper and Intel Group discussed how most of the domestic terrorism threat now comes from the supporters of the former president. And they have a picture here. Let's see what this shows here. There is a political backdrop to all this. It seems that most of the domestic terrorism threat now comes from supporters of the former president. So this must be from that internal memo. It is not like you want a political advantage, but people have attacked the government and its institutions for the last 6 years. So I wonder what they mean by this. I really do. Are they talking about just physical? Because, yeah, I mean, that's our right. As Americans, it's our right to speak out against a tyrannical government. That's pretty much what it means to be an American, okay? So I don't know what they mean about domestic terrorism. I feel like I don't see that happening hardly ever, but whatever. So that comes from that document. But America First Legal is releasing the second tranche of internal files. So that was the first tranche. I guess they have two tranches of internal files from the Homeland Intelligence Experts Group, obtained exclusively through AFL's litigation with Ambassador Rick Grinnell against the Biden Department of Homeland Security, the DHS. This is the second installment of the Deep State Diaries, a multi-part series of releases including newly obtained documents. So that's that. So we will be looking for the second tranche of these internal documents, because that's very, very crazy. I mean, it seems that most of the domestic terrorism threat now comes from supporters of the former president. So I would like a definition. Do they follow the formal domestic terrorism definition? Like if I look it up in Merriam-Webster dictionary, is that what they consider domestic terrorism? Or is it, just simply speaking out against these institutions that are being tyrannical and are using the justice system and the Justice Department and other institutions to tip the scales against a person who we as Trump supporters would like to see in the White House? That's all it is, really. Us noticing, what's going on, but they don't like to have their power questioned. That's a very, they don't like that one bit. And so when they see that, they label that domestic terrorism all of a sudden. All of a sudden, domestic terrorism it brings on a whole new meaning. All of a sudden, all these definitions start to change and shift. It doesn't mean what it used to mean in the past. Now, if you simply just attack the credibility of the institution and call out their tyranny, you are a domestic terrorist. But what do you guys think? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Join my membership site, my YouTube channel. It's this one. Just join it. I have it down below in the description. Like and subscribe. But until then, I will see you on the next one.